Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jack Hyland, co-chair of the Teachers College Board of Trustees.
Good afternoon. As co-chair of the Board of Trustees of Teachers College, I have the honor of officially opening today's ceremony. On behalf of the entire community of TC, I welcome you to the 2014 Masters Convocation. It is now my very great pleasure to introduce the President of Teachers College, Susan Fuhrman.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the most joyous occasion on the calendar of Teachers College, when we honor the talented, energetic, and dedicated women and men who are ready to lead the charge into the future. Congratulations, graduates, you made it. Congratulations as well to those who helped you make it to this day, our outstanding faculty, our dedicated staff, and of course, your families and partners. We're all so proud of you, our graduates today. And isn't it marvelous that this ceremony is being watched over by two magnificent birds flying above us in this majestic cathedral? What awe-inspiring works of art to contemplate as you leave TC and soar into your own future. This is a wonderful day in so many ways, a day for you to reflect on what you've accomplished and to look ahead to what you hope to achieve in the years to come. And of course, this is a day to celebrate. I want you to know that you stand on the shoulders of giants, the leaders and pioneers who have walked the halls of TC for more than 125 years and have helped to shape the world in so many ways. I'm particularly awed by the brilliance and insight of our founders and early leaders who nurtured this institution as a world-renowned center of new ideas, practices, and fields of inquiry. TC's visionaries also provided the blueprint for subsequent schools of education. As graduates, you can be rightly proud of the far-reaching influence of your alma mater. You are the heirs to the vision of our first dean, James Earl Russell, who called for training which would enable the student to see the relationships existing everywhere in the various fields of knowledge, even the unity of all knowledge. What a fitting way to describe the education you've received here. Russell's enduring vision is even more relevant today in our hyper-connected, turbocharged world. We need more than ever to see knowledge, understanding, and connection. This is the TC way. I urge you to continue to put Russell's vision into action in whatever you do and whatever your sphere of influence may be, whether it be one child or an entire nation. As you go into the world armed with your TC degree, I also want you to take pride in our legacy of firsts. It's a long list and continues to grow. Consider the fields that started here. Among them are educational psychology, social studies, urban education, gifted education, conflict resolution, the community school, nursing education, arts education, dance education, nutrition education, international and comparative education, spirituality and psychology, and special education. The list is long and growing. TC also established the nation's first academic department focused on the study of curriculum and teaching, granted the first graduate degrees in physical education, and had the first School of Education program in computing and education. And remember, TC is the birthplace of the community school, the scholarly textbook, the yellow school bus, and the song, Happy Birthday. Just as TC graduates helped to shape the 19th and 20th centuries, so too will you have a lasting impact on this still young century. I'm confident you'll lead the way toward that better future and create your own legacy of firsts with a distinctly 21st century twist. Let me tell you about one of our graduates who created a student first here at TC. Brendan DuBose launched a talk show web series featuring students and faculty discussing critical issues related to diversity, culture, and social justice. Brennan also hosts the series, which he titled The Conversation. He says the series explores the strong intersection between technology and media and how it can innovate and educate on the development, structure, and functioning of human society. Brennan worked with an all-TC student team to develop and produce each episode and then package them to air on YouTube. Episodes have focused on school-to-prison pipeline, homophobia and youth culture, and undocumented youth in the U.S. Last month, Brennan brought together in Milbank Chapel 5 African-American male professors from Columbia's university schools, including Teachers College, to discuss the state of African-American males in urban education. This was the first cross-campus panel of its kind in Columbia's history. Brennan credits his late grandmother, Louise Wingfield McNair, for telling him he could accomplish anything if he worked hard enough. She would be so proud today that her grandson receives his degree in communication and education. Another distinctly TC experience belongs to Claire O'Neill. On Claire's very first day at TC, her first class was in political anthropology with Professor George Bond. Professor Bond, whose recent death still shocks our community, inspired Claire, as he did so many other TC students over the years, to apply her preparation in anthropology to educating young children. Claire already had had experience teaching at the Montessori school her mother founded in Providence, Rhode Island, where she will return to teach in the fall. She wanted to come to TC to study education through an anthropological lens, and she couldn't find that focus at other prestigious graduate schools with anthropology programs. Claire is taking the path of Maria Montessori, who herself studied anthropology. Montessori developed her methods and curriculum by observing children in classrooms to discover what interested them, what they ignored, and what they needed to learn. Professor Bond, who spent years in villages in Zambia and Uganda, was a master of just that kind of anthropological observation. But Claire also has another career. She studied textile design at the Rhode Island School of Design, and she has her own line of knitwear for women and children. Claire says, "My interests can seem scattered, but they all come together in the end." Claire, we're so glad they came together here at TC. For you here at TC and somewhere, George Bond is smiling upon you and on all his students graduating this week. There are so many more wonderful stories among our graduates. You've engaged in research, learning, and practice that's helping to change lives, work that will resonate after you leave here today. So I expect great things from you. As TC graduates, you are uniquely prepared to meet the complex and sometimes confounding challenges we face in our city, our nation, and our world. The challenges are very similar to those at the time of TC's founding 126 years ago. Industrialization and technology were creating both vast wealth and deep economic uncertainty. A huge new influx of people was pouring into the U.S. from nations around the world. Communities were grappling with issues of health, race relations, poverty, and education. Sound familiar? Previous generations relied on our public schools to address many of these challenges, as we must today. Historically, the American public school system has served as the very foundation upon which we build a democratic society and educate individuals from around the world to fully participate in society. American public schools are unique in the world in this regard, open to everybody, educating all, and offering hope and opportunity for a better future. However, as we all know, these days public schools are under pressure on many fronts: major changes in curriculum and assessment, an oppressive accountability environment, and the challenge of educating students with increasingly diverse backgrounds and needs. And 60 years after the landmark Brown versus the Board of Education Supreme Court decision, persistent segregation and inequity still plague our schools. Alternatives proposed as opportunities for enhanced choice often exacerbate stratification and separation. Yes, we demand a great deal of our schools, and there is no shortage of those who find fault with the current state of public education. But there are so many positive aspects to build on and to celebrate, and so many creative and remarkable minds dedicated to our public schools. Just for example, the talented and committed educators and school leaders who are graduating from TC this week. Many of you will work in some area of public education, and this is particularly exciting. As the people of TC, we all have a moral obligation to harness the power of our great institution to extend the promise and opportunity of public education for all children today and to future generations. Indeed, that's an essential part of our mission at Teachers College. So clearly we have much work ahead to strengthen our schools and our society. Now more than ever, we must transform our schools to ensure every child has access to excellent education. We must harness the power of technology and groundbreaking research on how the mind works to support more effective learning. We must shape policy and practice on physical and mental health to address the most pressing needs in our communities, and so much more. TC has given you a strong foundation. Now it is up to you to put your own visions into action. This is your time to seize, your moment to make a difference. Despite our daunting challenges, I know you can do this. As you go forth from here today, I urge you to honor the spirit of TC in all that you do. I want to leave you with the words of one of our founders, Nicholas Murray Butler, who wrote during another time of tremendous change and challenges, "Optimism is essential to achievement, and it is also the foundation of courage and true progress." Remember his words and look to the future with optimism and the courage to change the world. Congratulations. We have now reached the moment in this ceremony when we honor an extraordinary individual whose life's work has advanced the cause of education while upholding TC's core mission to foster excellence and equity in the fields we serve. Among those honored at past ceremonies were Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Coretta Scott King, Senator George Mitchell, Pete Seeger, Thomas Friedman, Lee Shulman, Gail Collins, Spike Lee, Linda Darling Hammond, and many others. This year, we're honoring 4 eminent exemplars. The Reverend Dr. Calvin O. Butts, President of the State University of New York College at Old Westbury and pastor of the Abyssinian Baptist Church, Temple Grandin, International Champion of Autism Rights and Humane Treatment of Animals, and Professor of Animal Sciences at Colorado State University, Sonia Nieto, Professor Emerita of Language, Literacy, and Culture at the School of Education, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and Nobel Laureate Carl Wyman, Professor of Physics and of Education at Stanford University. Professor Nieto was honored at yesterday's convocation, and Temple Grandin was honored this morning. Carl Wyman will address the doctoral hooding tomorrow. The Reverend Dr. Butts will be honored presently and will deliver his remarks. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Ernest Morrell.